Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely, and with me today, of course, is Peter Lavelle, co-founder of The Gaggle and host of RT's talk show Crosstalk. Well, we're all sitting waiting with bated breath as to what the U.S. Supreme Court will decide. As many of our viewers will know, the state of Texas filed a lawsuit against four states, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, claiming that they had violated the federal constitution and their own state constitution in making substantial changes to its electoral laws without going through the state legislatures. And the Constitution clearly prescribes that it is the state legislatures that are responsible for selecting the electors, who are then seated by the US House of Representatives, and they are the ones who decide how they will select the electors. And therefore, they are the ones, the state legislators are the ones who make the laws about how elections are conducted. And instead, in these four states, and of course in other states as well, major changes in the conduct of elections were undertaken by courts, by government officials, and that therefore they were violating the state and federal constitution. So the Texas brought this lawsuit, and now a number of other states, something like 18 at last count, have joined as amici, friends of the court, and I think about some 6 states actually want to join as co-plaintiffs. And now, of course, a number of other states have joined the defendants. And so there is a big civil war, should we say, so far peaceful, brewing among the states. You have, I think, 20 states on either side waiting on the ruling from the US Supreme Court. The US Supreme Court has so far in this election punted, avoiding getting involved. There was an earlier Pennsylvania case that they didn't want to get involved. It was a 4-4 tie, which means it was thrown back to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And then this week, the Pennsylvania GOP had again appealed the ruling by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and that was rejected without any explanation. So now it's an interesting question, because it's hard to see how the United States Supreme Court can avoid getting involved. I mean, Roberts, the Chief Justice, has clearly been seeking at all costs to just hide under the table and avoid getting involved. But with so many states now in taking part in this litigation, it's hard to see how the U.S. Supreme Court can avoid getting involved. What's your take, Peter?
Oh, I welcome this. I absolutely welcome this here. It's why we have a Supreme Court. It's kind of like a tiebreaker, when we have a deadlock here, and we have real grievances. Okay, I'm not a lawyer. You're not a lawyer. And you said in an earlier video, which I think is so profoundly important, is the whole issue of standing. I understand that from a legal point of view. However, broadly speaking, it's the voter that has standing. It's an election, all right? And there are so many people, so many claims. We have to have some kind of resolution to this, because if we don't, we're going to very much regret it. We're going to very much regret it for a long time. There'll be tens of millions of people that will not see the person that is inaugurated on January 20th as being legitimate. This is all too important. Now, those people that are saying these lawsuits are sedition and idiocy and treasonous and all of these other words, well, they're just weasel words, okay? Because elections have consequences. Someone said that once, okay? And so we have to go through this procedure. What really irks me, and I'm not making any claims here, but these procedures are available for this kind of situation. That's why they're there. They're a fail-safe. Okay, let's go do this. Let's go. And if you look at how the Constitution looks at elections, obviously it gives so much more power to the states. I agree with that, but it makes it very clear that legislatures do this here. We have a number of examples where the legislature or government officials in these states went around the legislature. Okay, we need to know, I need a legal finding about the legality of this. If it's not, what is the remedy? And then, you look at some of the states will say, well, we did everything right. Our electors are genuine. I mean, why should we mix our electors into electors where their legitimacy is in doubt here? I mean, because at the end of the day, we have all these independent states here, but when you have to roll everything up, every elector should have equal value in being valid and legitimate here. Bad money drives out good money, as they say here. Let's have this clean. Let's have it understood. And that's why the Supreme Court absolutely has to intervene. Those that say this is sedition, they don't want a resolution to it. I mean, these people are really out of their mind, George. Wouldn't you want a resolution? A definitive resolution from the Supreme Court of the United States? They should welcome this.
That's right. And of course, the whole idea of using a word such as sedition, when what you're doing is you're going to the court.
That's what they're for.
They know exactly. I don't think they know what the word sedition means. If you go to the court and seek remedy through the court, then you're by definition not being seditious. You're going through the legal constitutional channels for an issue that affects all states. It is a federal matter. I mean, this was all settled by Bush v. Gore, where again, people said, oh, this is all a matter of Florida. No, the Supreme Court said no, because this affects the seating of the College of Electors to elect a federal president. And so therefore, this absolutely affects all states. And so it doesn't matter that, the Texas is intervening in the internal affairs of Pennsylvania. No, this is a matter of seating the College of Electors, and that affects everybody. If the election was bogus in one state, then, as you say, that strips another state of its electoral power, just as the same way that an illegal vote cast it takes away the right of the person who cast his vote legally. So that's exactly the point. That these issues go to the very heart of the federal constitution.
Well, you see, the people that use the word sedition, these are the same. These are the people are using it in such an pejorative way and casting a negative spin on the election here. But if they accept this lawsuit, they're accepting that there was a level of fraud. Okay, and that's something they can't do. They can't go there. All right, and elections all of the time have problems, particularly in the United States, because every state does it a little bit differently, and it's allowed under the Constitution. But see, you have to say sedition because you want to stop the conversation. You don't want to move forward. Just accept what you are told. Well, why should I accept? I mean, you've been wrong. The mainstream media has been wrong about everything for the last few years. I mean, why should I believe you on this point here? Let the judges decide and have more than a one sentence, okay? Explain your reasoning, why you will accept this and what the remedy is, or conversely, we will allow this current situation to stand for the following reasons.
Right. I think that's exactly right. And that's why I don't think the Supreme Court can just stand back and not get involved, because you can't. If ultimately you're saying, hey, well, this is such a difficult matter and it's so controversial and it might trigger violence, whichever way we rule, so we're going to stay away, then I think the public is going to wonder, well, why do we have a Supreme Court?
But the result, by stepping back, you will create that result.
Right, exactly, because and you're basically undermining the very authority of the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court is just too cowardly to get involved in the most important issues, which is the resolution of election, then why do we have a Supreme Court? So I think that's why it's going to be very, very difficult for them to stay out of it.
Well, see, what will happen is, I mean, this will be very difficult the medicine to swallow. But I mean, if the Supreme Court says, look, we're going to let things stand where they are, and these are the reasons here. Now, you may not be very happy about it, but this is our conclusion. That will mollify some people. Say, well, it went all the way to the Supreme Court. Okay, it's not going to mollify everyone, but it could take the sting out of our political conversation right now. I mean, the country deserves it, okay? And this is not about Donald Trump. And this is the first time we've mentioned the president's name in this podcast here. It's about the process. That's what's most important here. Because if there isn't a remedy to this situation here, there's going to be a lot of people, about half the country, that's going to say, what's going to stop it from happening again?
Well, exactly. That's exactly right. And if you are going to just simply say, okay, well, okay, there's electoral fraud. We know there's electoral fraud, but hey, we just have to accept it. But of course, the very next time, in the very, very next election, there will be electoral fraud. That's why all of these Republican arguments about, in case of Georgia, when they say something like, well, okay, maybe there was electoral fraud in Georgia, but we must win the 2 Senate seats in Georgia. Well, if you know that there's fraud, then why would you think you're going to win in Georgia? It's like, you know that the roulette wheel in the casino is fixed, but I must go and win my money back. I mean, if somebody said that, you think you're an idiot. I mean, to think that they're going to allow you to win your money back. So exactly, if you know there's fraud in Georgia, then it's ridiculous to expect a different outcome in the next election. So absolutely, you have to have some kind of a resolution. Now, the resolution that is possible in this case would be the Supreme Court saying, look, it's up to the state legislatures to decide to seat the electors. If the state legislatures decide that there was just so much fraud in this election, and therefore the result is so unreliable, then they're going to have to find some other way of selecting the electors. I mean, that seems a reasonable remedy.
But that's what it's implied in the Constitution when it sets out about how states organize their elections. So it's good, and it's through the legislature. So it's basically, you're absolutely right. Hey, legislators, what are you going to do?
Right.
What are you going to do? We're not going to do it, okay? You have to do it, okay? I mean, that gives some kind of clarity here. Again, every time we talk about this topic, I remind everyone there were just an ocean of ballots flying around the country, okay? We have to find a way to find a resolution here. But no resolution is not acceptable here. It's absolutely not acceptable.
Yes. Yeah. No. Exactly. Because if the Supreme Court does decide to punt and announce maybe today, tomorrow, whenever, that we're just not going to take the case, then I think it is just disastrous. Because then there'll be just fury on the part of the 74 million that voted for Trump. Because then they'll say, well, there's no remedy.
Yeah,
we come up with evidence that there was fraud, and then the courts are just throwing it out. They're saying, well, you have no standing. And in the case of the Supreme Court, they don't even bother to offer us an explanation.
Look at Georgia. Okay, let's say the 2 Republicans win. Then they'll be saying there was fraud. And if the 2 Democrats win, then people are going to say there was fraud. You see the hole that we've all dug ourselves into? No matter what the outcome, someone's going to say a fraud.
Right. Well, that's why that's a good argument for having proper elections. And the United States has had ample opportunity to rectify its electoral system. I mean, everyone has known that these electoral rolls are ridiculously outdated. All sorts of illegal people are on those rolls. People have moved away years ago, died years ago. There have been any number of opportunities to clean it up. The United States has failed to do so.
And the voting rolls are public. Right. All right, everyone. I mean, I remember over the summer, Russia has the voting rolls of Ohio. I mean, come on, these are all on the internet. Okay, it's public knowledge. Okay, right. And so an industrious person or persons could get up to some great mischief with those rolls. I'm not saying that happened, but considering that there were so many ballots out there, I'll let the viewer decide.
Right. No, that's exactly right. Now, this lawsuit that was filed in Georgia earlier this week, 1,500-page lawsuit, it lists everyone who voted illegally. I mean, there are thousands. So the total number of people that they have listed as having voted illegally far exceeds Biden's apparent margin of victory. So you've got the evidence. I mean, it's quite extraordinary that these people have been so industrious and has dug up all of this evidence. You can't just keep throwing it out and say, well, you don't have any standing. It's too late now. And, you know, people don't understand that. That's an argument. Well, what do you mean it's too late? I mean, you're the court of law. You know, we needed time to gather all this evidence. And now you're saying, well, too late. Sorry.
There's only one date that matters. It's Inauguration Day. Right. All the rest of it is debatable because it's not part of the Constitution. It's part of precedent and procedures. There's only one thing, Inauguration Day. George, this is December 11th. Yeah. Inauguration Day is on January 20th. Yes. What's the rush?
Exactly. You know, that's exactly right. There's plenty of time. The Supreme Court were to say later today that we will take it. Briefings could start on Monday. I mean, there's ample time to get this right. What won't get this right is, as we've been saying, is if the Supreme Court just punts and decides to just dive under the covers and not get involved. I think that would be truly catastrophic for the country and for the institution of the Supreme Court.
Agreed. And considering the lack of confidence people have in institutions and the media, this could be just, you know, one of the last nails in the coffin. I dread that, because then people will take measures into their own hands. And considering the United States is a heavily armed country, it doesn't bode well.
No, that's right. All right. Well, we will, of course, maintain our customary laser-like focus. You know, maybe, you know, even if later today there's a ruling by the Supreme Court, you know, we might even address it, you know, in an emergency session. All right. Remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye-bye.